What's up with the squad? Back with another video. I seen the title was going down. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it in the title. Got it right here. Says breaking. Massive development. President Trump is reportedly aiming to surge denaturalization of foreigners who obtain their citizenship unlawfully. Said that should include Ilhan Omar, which a lot of people, agree. The fraudsters and third worlders will be sent back, as y'all, see, each and every day. Got it right here. Says it's official. At least $9 billion in Medicaid fraud was just found in Minnesota. So one thing about it is that this fraud scandal continues to grow. It continues to grow, and we're seeing it literally each and every day. How bad it is getting. Started off. We hear that number. We didn't heard that number 250,000. We heard the 1 billion. We didn't heard the 8 billion. It's growing. It's growing, and I'm seeing stuff that's happened, literally every time I get on X. Check it out.
Prosecutor says half of Medicaid's $18 billion claims paid to Minnesota programs could be fraudulent. Prosecutors charged 5 people in a Minnesota housing fraud scheme today. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson claims 2 defendants pocketed $750,000 to travel to international destinations instead of helping Medicaid recipients find stable housing.
Telling y'all, definitely insane. And one thing about it, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I know for a fact, as they're doing more and more, and it says right here, Tim Walz needs to resign. As I'm seeing this, I know for a fact Tim Walz, he's literally scared. He's terrified. And when you do, it's one of those sayings. You do the crime, you do the time. And I truly feel that. I definitely feel that. When it comes down to it, especially something so much of this, and we continue to talk about these numbers. I truly feel as if, and I've said this all week, I truly feel as if this is not everything. And I know, you have people in the comments, and I've even said myself, I know they got to do an investigation. I know they have to find more evidence, more and more evidence to really, in a sense, crack down, when it comes down to it. But I truly, truly love the simple fact that they're finding out more. They're finding out more and more and more each and every day. I'm telling y'all. Says right here, Ilan Omar on getting, deported. I don't know. She says, I don't know why it's such a scary threat. She says she's grown and she can live wherever, y'all.
I mean, I have no worry. I don't know how they take away my citizenship and deport me, but I don't even know why that's such a scary threat. I'm not the 8-year-old who escaped war anymore. I'm grown. My kids are grown. I can go live wherever I want.
And I feel like she should. I definitely feel like she should. Not only, the fraud, case that's going on, but the whole situation where Mary and her brother, there's a new situation. And it's, again, every day. Her line about, I guess her son, they lied and reported that I guess the agents was stopped him in the car. It's stuff like that. They try these different tactics to make Trump and Trump administration, even, these ICE agents look bad, and look like, oh yeah, they're just doing whatever. I'm telling y'all, definitely sickening. Definitely sickening. It says right here, Ilan Omar went from 65,000 to 30 million in just 3 years. Literally, text message from one of the Somalis telling Omar, you're going to be the richest 25-year-old, God willing. So if you want Ilhan Omar to be Pam Bundy's first indictment, let her know. She'll see this. Check it out.
Omar, the congresswoman from Minnesota, who's somehow worth more than $30 million after having a net worth of $65,000 just 3 years ago. Again, this is all public information, so how did she get all that money? How did she get all that money? And that other question, that other funny question, did she marry her brother, Ahmed Elmi, on February 12th, 2009 in Eden Prairie, Minnesota? We've got the marriage certificate. She did this allegedly, reportedly, so he could get a green card. A man who divides his time between the UK and South Africa now and goes by the name Dirty Dandy on social media, and he is a dandy one. We think these are all reasonable questions to be asking, and joining us now to help us answer those questions, the most prominent Republican in the state of Minnesota, House Majority Whip and Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer. Congressman, great to see you. I want to talk about the money first, if we could. Ilhan Omar founded this program called Feeding Our Families, which was then robbed by $250 million. 3 Somali refugees have been arrested so far. Suddenly, Ilhan's got a net worth of $30 million. Sir, do we think there could be a connection?
Oh, we better find out. And Rob, it's great to be with you. Let me just adjust a little bit of that. Ilhan Omar was instrumental, I understand, in creating the funds that were used for nutrition during the crisis known as the pandemic. There is a entity in Minnesota called Feeding Our Future that built that program out of $250 million. It was the single largest pandemic fraud case in the country. When you look, it's not just 3 people have been arrested. You've had 87 people charged in that fraud scheme,
Exactly.
and it happens to be that 90% of them come from the Somali community in Minnesota. Did Ilhan know? I have no idea. Was Ilhan involved? I've got the same questions. How do you go from a net worth of $65,000 on a $172,000 annual salary, which, by the way, you got to pay for your health benefits, your housing, everything else? How do you go from that and suddenly have 26 to 30-some million dollars in just 3 years?
It makes no
but it doesn't
sense.
stop there. You got to look at our governor. You got to look at our attorney general.
Yeah, I agree. It makes no sense. Look, Bernie Madoff didn't do that well in the stock market, and he was cheating. He was actually cheating the system, and his returns weren't that good. According to one report, this new CBS report, which I applaud CBS for doing this, Minnesota Somalian fraudsters went on a, quote, spending spree in which defendants, many of Somali descent, took taxpayer money meant to feed hungry children and used it to buy cars, property, and jewelry. Videos show them popping champagne at an opulent Maldives resort. In a text message, one defendant said, "You're going to be the richest 25-year-old, God willing." Congressman, how big a problem?
I'm telling y'all. Definitely a big issue, definitely a big problem. And like I say, there's so much, messed up things, going on in Minnesota that it's just a lot to cover. And, I hear people talk about, oh, Ilhan Omar's, she's blamed. Of course. Tim Walz, he's to blame. Of course. Allegedly, I should say. But I feel like not only them, there's others that need to be, that needs to, it's that accountability. It's that accountability. And I feel like it's one of those things that you definitely want to make an example of, because there's other places that this is truly, happening at. I'm telling y'all. It says right here, Minnesota local news investigation uncovers that the state repeatedly reported incorrect information about SNAP to the federal government, including data on how much money Minnesota distributed. Let's check it out, y'all.
I got to say, this was a first for me as a journalist. Watch.
So in 2020, let me see if I can get the right data here. In 2020, sorry, make sure I have the right data. What year is that? We'll skip the date. So at one point in time, we had 143 intentional program violations found, which was 0.003% of all cases.
That is the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families responding to my question, how common is fraud in SNAP? SNAP, of course, is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It serves hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans every month. Her answer ultimately led us to uncover that the state repeatedly reported incorrect information about SNAP to the federal government, including data on how much money Minnesota distributed and how many people are bilking the system. The number she threw out,
143,
the department later confirmed was inaccurate in the federal reports we reviewed. So why does this matter? I'll let Minnesota State Auditor Julie Blaha explain why.
If that SNAP program, we don't get good data on the SNAP program, it'd be easy for a legislator to say, oh, maybe it's not important. Ultimately, this is about making good decisions. The better the data, the better the decision. So if the data is off, the decisions can be off.
If you have information on SNAP in Minnesota that you want me to investigate, reach out. You can email us at investigations@kstp.com.
And as y'all know, that there's it's a lot of investigation going on with a lot of things. This is just yesterday even. This actually posted today. you see so many things is happening. You got it right here. Tim Walz is panicked. Now that the FBI just raided a Somali health services building after billions in Medicaid fraud was exposed. So it's only getting worse for Minnesota. Tim Walz and Minnesota Democrats are to blame. Resign. Check it out. I'm telling y'all. So much going on, y'all. So much going on. Literally got, the FBI out here carrying out multiple boxes. Because of the things that's going on in Minnesota. I'm telling y'all. It's definitely crazy. Definitely sickening. I'm not even gonna lie. Definitely sickening that we got these individuals doing, such a thing here. That's, in Minnesota. Independent journalist Nick Shirley just grilled a Minnesota Democrat state rep to her face over, Somali fraud under Tim Walz. Check it out. Says he completely lost it. No answers, no accountability, just rage when confronted by facts.
Yes. But he has some very valid questions to ask about what's going on here in Minnesota. And do you think this fraud
I don't know who
crosses?
you are.
My name is Nick Shirley. Do you think this fraud is Republican or Democrat, or just facts that fraud is happening? Because because that's what I heard you talking about.
I know what I said is that
because
what we're talking about is
we want to build trust, but fraud is fraud. So why should we be enabling fraud to happen here?
No, I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
Okay, sir.
No. This
Sir,
is not.
sir.
When are you going to hold Governor Walz? No. She is a representative for the state of Minnesota. Yes or no?
Excuse me.
Yes. Are you?
If you're going to talk to me like
are
that?
you going to say to her, I'm a disability advocate?
I heard you, and you got a chance
overstimulated.
to testify.
Thank you for testifying today.
No.
Ma'am.
She needs to ask questions because she represents.
The facts are the facts that fraud is happening here, and it's not a nonpartisan issue.
But I also feel like if you're constantly asking somebody a question and constantly you asking them and they're not giving you any answers, they give you more so of, a demand of, oh, you need to calm down, or, oh, why are you doing this, or why are you doing that? They're not going to take accountability. They're in the wrong for what they're doing. That's constantly what
How come you
doing.
think fraud has been able to happen so much underneath?
I think if you've
government
been
here.
listening to our hearings, we've had now 10 hearings on this. And so there's really good data from the people who both work within the administration as well as who, both Democrat and Republicans. I think what you heard today is that the Republicans who control this committee are not actually interested in solving fraud. What they're interested in is telling a story.
This fraud has happened underneath Democrat leader Tim Walz.
There has been Medicaid fraud across the country under Democrats and Republicans. There's fraud within the Trump administration. We have is fraud, private provider.
We know who did it. I mean, she's literally saying a lot without saying anything at all. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I said that. I don't know if I said that the right way, but I feel like it's just one of those things. Like, oh, there's fraud everywhere. There's fraud all across the world. There's fraud in Republicans. There's fraud in Democrats. There's fraud in Trump. The way she's saying this is she has nothing to say because she knows he's in the wrong.
Have made government a mark. And so every person running government, Democrats or Republicans, are dealing with the issue of how to keep fraudsters out of our public payment. We're also dealing with veterans. We're dealing with consumers. I hope you're looking at that. If you look at United Health, currently is being charged with defrauding Medicare. You know who runs Medicare? President Trump. And so it isn't a partisan issue. The fact that you're trying to make it a partisan issue tells me you have an angle, which is fine. That's why I asked who you're with.
Well, a lot of fraud has happened here.
that
Political correctness is
Governor
stopping.
Walz, President Trump, Governor, you look down the line, and I hope you're talking about that, because if you look at what CMS has put out, right, Medicaid fraud is a 50-state issue. Mm-hmm. And so, again, it is not a partisan issue. There are Democrats and Republicans who are sitting in that committee talking about it. But what you did here was the Republican chair say she's not turning information over to the one person in government who can stop payment. And I hope you print that.
Thank you for coming today.
Okay. Well, you saw what happened there.
It is okay Tuesday, and they want to go visit the Trump. They want to blame the Trump administration. We have Democrats blaming ICE. I'm tired. My people are suffering. I'm scared for my little brother. My people are suffering, and these people just walk off. We have a governor who doesn't care. How many more people are going to go homeless? And how many more people are going to be in our freaking system?
I ain't even gonna lie though. I'm gonna be real. Y'all know I'm real with everybody, and I know it's a lot of frustration. But one of the things, I know it's a lot of frustration. I know it's a lot of hurt. But in a situation, that's why I'm not even gonna lie. This is not. I hope nobody don't make this a race thing, bro. I know this is simple. I feel like the way that and I know that it just goes to show you two different people. And I haven't seen Nick Shirley, act in a certain, way. And if he did, then I'll call it out too. Y'all know I'll call it out anything. But I feel like this individual right here on the left, is African American. I'm not really sure, I feel like this is one of those things, just gotta calm down. Just calm down. What Nick Shirley did. I'm not saying nobody is wrong or right in this situation. I'm just saying it's, for him to calm down a little bit, and take a breath. Just take a breath and. Because I feel like the way that Nick Shirley handled it in a way of asking those questions, it gave out the right reaction. It gave out a reaction of, okay, she's not taking accountability. She's lying. She's blaming everybody but herself and Tim Walz. She covered Tim Walz. She didn't say anything about Tim Walz. Blamed everybody else. Instead of taking that accountability. And I feel like that's one of the things that you do. You stay calm, you ask the right questions, and you get that reaction out of an individual. It'll tell you for itself, just like that. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe. I definitely appreciate y'all. Much love, everybody. Catch y'all next one.